I thought we were on there.
Hi there, welcome to this GEG Global event. We'll be getting started shortly. In the meantime, head over to the chat section and connect with other educators by introducing yourself. Share where you're from, what you do in education, and even your Twitter handle. And if you have any questions right away, go ahead and ask them there. And don't forget to click the subscribe button so you receive updates on any GEG Global events. Stay tuned, we'll get started shortly.
Hi, and welcome to GEG Global tonight or today, wherever you are in the world. We are here today with Paddy, who is going to give us a quick roundabout tour this evening of the Texthelp Toolkit that is on Google. So over to you.
Thank you, Katie. That was the quickest introduction I've had in a while, so I'm really happy for that.
I could have got longer if you wanted.
We were just talking backstage there, Katie, I know, and one of the things was, how do you get me to stop talking after 25 minutes? But I think you've just given me an extra 2 there, so that's great. Thank you for that.
I was giving you, there you go. I knew. I was giving you all the time.
Great stuff. Well, listen, thanks, Katie, for the opportunity to come along tonight, stroke today, depending on where you are in the world. It's my absolute privilege to be here and a pleasure to be taking you through some of the goodies that Texthelp has to offer. This is actually part of a series that we're running through Global GEG. I'm really happy to be invited to do this. So this is going to run all of this week through to Monday of next week at the same time. And each of those nights, I'm going to be here with you, and I'm going to be joined by some innovators and trainers, and also some other people from Texthelp, just to take you through in some detail the Texthelp Toolkit for Google. Those extensions you will have heard of, things like Read&Write, and some of the extensions you may not just be quite as aware of, but we're hoping to take you through all of those this week. So I thought tonight, what we could maybe do in a shorter period of time than we have for the rest of the week is just run through what we're going to be covering and give you what I'll call the whistle-stop tour, or the double quick tour of each of the products. There's so much in the Texthelp stable of tools and the extensions and what they can do that it will take me an hour most nights to get through all the tools. We're going to do this in less than 25 minutes. So this is, I think we're going to set a record tonight for the fastest tour of the Texthelp Toolkit for Google. So I'm Patrick McGrath, and my job, and as Katie says, most people will call me Paddy, so you'll hear maybe both mentioned as we go through. My job in Texthelp is really just to focus on teaching and learning, and to make sure that we all get the very best out of the tools. So I'm based in the Texthelp headquarters, which you may or may not know if you're from North America, is actually just outside Belfast in Northern Ireland in the UK. So I've been, like many of you, I've been stuck at home since last March, haven't seen the office for a while. So let me give you the quick tour, and let me tell you exactly what we're going to go through during the course of this series. So many of you will probably know the kind of the main tool that I talk about here in Texthelp is, of course, Read&Write. And I'm not here to give you a sales pitch at all. In fact, we're here to give you the products for free as we go forward tonight, where we can. And the main tool, of course, is Read&Write, 30 million plus users. But what I want to get across really as part of the introduction is, when we touch on Read&Write, we're really talking about how can we give students an extension that can help support reading, writing, and comprehension. Now, when we go through Read&Write, we'll be looking at other things beyond these 3 areas. We'll be looking at how can we support them for continuous study? How can we give them some additional activities that can improve understanding? And so Read&Write will be next Monday night. We're also going to be talking about WriQ, which you may not have came across just as much, but WriQ is a great extension that's going to enable you to take a Google Doc, either inside Classroom or outside Classroom, and be able to effectively grade it and mark it and provide really good feedback to students. There's a whole lot more to it than that, but we're going to be hitting WriQ on Wednesday night of this week, and that's a really super tool, both for classroom use and outside of classroom. PDF is one thing that during lockdown we get asked about a lot. We're going to be looking at the Texthelp PDF Reader. So that single extension kind of comes along with Read and Write. So if you have Read and Write, you've already got this. The PDF reader will give you all the accessibility features that comes in Read and Write, but also gives us the ability to do things like have students complete work through PDF, to share that directly through Google Classroom, writing an assignment, and also from a teacher perspective, to mark work and PDF-based work all the way through Google Classroom, so you can stay in that classroom workflow. Next one there, green one, is Fluency Tutor. So how do we help students practice reading aloud? Well, we can give them some passages. We can ask them some comprehension questions. We can give them the opportunity to record their voice or even create their own reading passages. But if we do those things, we can do those all within the Chrome browser now. And we can encourage students to read aloud using just the microphone on their device, return that directly through Classroom. So that's Fluency Tutor, and that's on Friday night. And Digital Maths is the one that we're starting with tomorrow night. So that's our launch one. Really pleased to have Jenna with us from the community to help share her good practice on that. And really, EquatIO is helping in lots of different ways, but it's helping us as teachers create maths. It's helping our students create maths with ease, and I'll show you really quickly tonight how it can do that. But also build it into forms, build it into Jamboard, have it in your Canvas LMS, have it in slides, have it in docs, have it in sheets, have it anywhere you need it, on web pages and within PDFs. So EquatIO tomorrow night with Jenna from the community. So looking forward to working with all the facilitators that we have. One of the things I'm going to make sure that we do as part of the series this week is make sure that we're showing you exactly how all of these extensions fit right in with Google Classroom. So things like Read and Write, if you're handing out an assignment or you're encouraging students to chat through the stream, how can Read and Write provide some additional levels of accessibility there? How can we incorporate that within it? How can we make those assignments and all those classroom windows a little bit easier for students to comprehend and understand? Within WriQ, how do we build it into workflow? In PDF, how can we make it nice and quick and easy to grab a PDF from Drive or the web and share it directly out? How can we assign tasks and create maths tasks through EquatIO and share it straight out with a link in Classroom? So conscious that we want to make sure we cover Google Classroom during this week, so you get the very most out of each of those extensions. Now, each of these tools that we're going to go through, and I would encourage you to download them. If you're going to come, and I really hope you are going to come to any of these additional sessions later on this week, do download the extension beforehand. I'll give you a link in just the next slide as to where you can get access to this as a teacher or an educator. If you already have them by either your district or from your school, you'll see them just on the extensions toolbar. Sometimes if they've been deployed district-wide or by your school, they may be just unpinned, so you need to find them under the pin tab and just pin them. The icons look just like I have on the top left-hand side of my screen there. So all of those icons, and I'll get this deck shared after today as well, all of those icons are what you're going to be looking for. So we're Read and Write, PDF Reader, EquatIO, that's Screenshot Reader, the little purple guy there in the middle, Fluency Tutor, and then WriQ. So those are the ones that we're going to go through. So do look out for those. Now, the next big question is, if you don't have them at your district or at your school level, how do you get a hold of them? So this link, which I think Katie's going to share in the chat later on, text.help/FFT. That's our free for teachers program. So Read and Write and EquatIO, any of you that are attending tonight, you can get access to that lifetime for free, full premium access. All you need to do is visit that link, put in your teacher email address. We can't accept the Gmail address, unfortunately, on that, but if you put your teacher email address in that, your work email address, we'll get you set up with a license in 24 hours. So if you can all do me a favor, if you don't have access to either of those tools, by all means, jump on that link, fill the form in, and by the time we come to our EquatIO session tomorrow night, you'll be able to move along with us and try some of the activities that we're going to show you. Beyond that, we have a very special announcement, which we're going to announce at the very end of the series for the global innovator community and certified trainer community. So there's some very special ways that we're going to help you guys out. So if you're an innovator or a trainer and you're on the session tonight or any of the subsequent sessions, do look at look out for that, and you'll be getting an announcement directly from the community and from your emails that you'll get from the community. And that'll help you get access to the products. It'll help you get access to some special resources and some additional help and support. So that's how to get things. And now really what I want to do, because time is tight for us tonight, is have a quick look through what you can maybe expect in terms of the tools. The series that we've planned out, very conscious that I don't want to just show you features. I do want to show you good practice. So we're going to be getting contributions from the community who will co-host with me during the rest of this week. We want to make sure that we've given you some practical ideas. We want to make sure we've given you access to really good resources, so you can access anything that you need after each of the sessions. I'm going to give you some links to some important pieces of those just at the end of this evening's session. But I thought what it would be useful to do maybe is just go through, give you a very quick flavor of what we're going to cover. And I'm calling this the double quick tour, because this really will be the fastest tour you've ever had of any Texthelp products. So I'm just going to flick through a few tabs. And if you haven't come across some of these extensions before, this will just give you hopefully a helpful flavor of the types of things that we can achieve with these extensions. So each one is an extension. Each one has a rich set of features, but just to give you a flavor. So the first one, of course, is Read&Write. Many of you will be familiar with Read&Write. You've come across it. I'm hoping all of you have this one installed as part of your district or school license. If you don't forget to go and get it at text.help/FFT for free. But Read&Write is really well known, of course, for text-to-speech. So we'll be showing you things like text-to-speech. Importantly, we'll be showing you how we can use these at multiple levels. So we can go right the way through all of the school stages and see how that can help with everything from exam preparation. It can also help with standard comprehension, with proofreading and what I like to call proof listening. But we'll see how we can take things like text-to-speech and add on things like Audio Maker, which we'll go through. What does it do? It just takes all of the text, it turns it into an audio file, and it downloads that as an MP3, meaning that your students can quickly repurpose their work and their notes, and they can take that and they can listen to that through a pair of earbuds, AirPods, on their mobile phone or on their Chromebook or on any of their devices. So that will make it very easy to start to use audio in different ways. We'll also be looking at things like accessibility, ways you may not have considered before, like screen masking to help reduce distractions. We can use that also in live teaching online, because we can use that to make a solid color and blank areas of the screen and reveal questions and answers as we go through on the screen. So we'll see how we can tailor that for each individual student. Remember, on the toolbar, there's things that you'll be used to as a Google user. Things like dictation are automatically built into this toolbar. We'll see how we can use things like translation tools. So we can have a translation tool here. We could translate one individual word there for multiple languages. So we can use those tools. Things like voice note. So we can take voice note and we can record our voice, and we can record a little message to our students. We can use this for feedback. Our students can use it to record some additional notes, explaining their work. We can use this in docs. We can use this in slides. We can use this in sheets, anywhere we want. And all it does is very simply create a Google comment right in the doc, but in there, it'll now have a play button on it, so students can listen to this really easily. So we got some audio feedback. I'll just tick that comment to get it out of the way. Other things that we'll be able to show you, things like the ability to have these digital highlighters, but more than that, the ability to collect those digital highlights. If you haven't seen this one before, such a time saver in terms of research and review, but that'll take all of those notes that I've just made and it'll turn them into a brand new Google Doc. It'll give me the link back to the original document, and I can do that from a Google Doc, or I could do it from a slide deck, or I could do it from a web page. So that's just some of the things that we'll go through there. That's on a doc. Things you may not know of we'll go through as well, because we can open here and we can take something different, like maybe you haven't seen this, the simplify feature. Just reduce the distractions, be able to change the contrast for students, turn on things like discovery, which will link us into Wikipedia tabs, and that'll turn on this little button right here. Sorry, these little hyperlinks right here, which will take us right the way through to Wikipedia. So there's loads of tools here that we can still retain, plus we still have the access to read and write. So look, we'll go through this one in depth because we can take those accessibility features, we'll show them to you on docs, and we'll show them to you directly in web pages. So there's lots to see when it comes to read and write, and I hope that what we're going to cover are some hidden gems. And one of the hidden gems I think that we're going to really spend a bit of time on, and this is on Thursday, is in PDF. So if you've used Read and Write before, you'll know about the accessibility features. You'll know about dictionaries and picture dictionaries, the ability to read text aloud, as we said. But that's now available. If you open a file, a PDF from Google Drive, or you open it from a web page just from your Chrome browser, and you have this extension installed, which is the PDF reader, just comes with Read and Write. You get all of those things, but you also get a whole lot more. So for example, if I want to give my students text tools, I can have a text tool right here, which I can drop. This is not an editable PDF. This is just a regular PDF. Access things like screenshot reader. So see, for accessibility. So those things that are just screenshots that have been popped into a PDF resource, I can now have that played aloud. Okay, so that'll play it aloud.
Push, pull or twist.
So those are inaccessible PDFs. We can make accessible. What else can we do? Freehand drawing. So pick our color. So we've got a full PDF palette now that we can start to draw directly into our documents here. So we can start to complete PDFs really easily. I'll be using the touchscreen for the demo that we'll run through and some of the good practice ideas that we'll run through just on Thursday with this. So I've got ways that I can leave my voice notes here in a PDF. We've got ways that I can leave rich comments. So I can use dictation to leave my comments on here as well. I can create study notes. Anything that I could do on a Google Doc, I can now do on a PDF with this PDF reader. And it's really easy to set up. And you'll see some magic buttons on here that you may again not have noticed before. Things like classroom. So imagine you've got a flow whereby you're getting a PDF assigned to a student. Student has now got PDF reader installed, so they can use all of the tools. They can type, they can dictate, they can handwrite, they can annotate, but they can complete a worksheet. But when they're finished, they can just hit the Google Classroom button up the top and they can return it automatically. So the assignment that you've sent out, by hitting that button, it'll be sent right back to you. So we try and keep it in that workflow. And you can also use this PDF reader within Google Classroom. So we'll see when we get to the PDF session how it'll automatically open. It's just this extension, but it'll automatically open when you're in that marking workflow in in Google Classroom. So it means that if your pupils and students are returning work as a PDF, it's really easy to pick up these annotation tools and mark them and hit the return button and move on to the next one. So it makes things nice and fast. So one of the things, and I'm just going to jump back to here. So I'm going to go back to this web page. And we were talking about Read and Write. And one of the other buttons that actually people go, wow, I didn't know that was there, is this practice reading aloud button. And what this does is this takes a fairly complex page, okay, and it basically turns this into a read aloud. So when we hit this button, it'll convert it and it'll turn it into a read aloud page. And now we can get students to read this aloud and practice reading it. But what you may not know is that we have a tool that does just that on its own, and that's Fluency Tutor. So Fluency Tutor we're hitting up on Friday, and Fluency Tutor for me is one of those wonderfully exciting tools. It's just like that hidden gem. And when you discover it, you go, how did I actually live without this tool? And what this tool does is, so this actually runs as a web app, so you can access it by just visiting fluency.texthelp.com. It also has an extension. But what it allows you to do is share a reading passage. Now, we'll go into it in depth, but you can pick the lexile level that you want to share a passage out on. You can pick the word count. We have 500 different passages within here. So, for example, I can skip all the way through and I can go all the way through to this page, my 500 passages. And here's a passage about Ben Nevis, the tallest mountain in the British Isles. So I can preview that, okay? And we already know what lexile level this is at. you'll see there's questions come with it. So there's 500 of these. And what I can do is really easily, I can just share it with my class. And we'll not have time tonight to go through all of this, but if I share here and I'll select my students, so I'll send it out only to me, okay, and I'll just create an assignment. What that's done is it's created an assignment, it's sent the reading passage to the student. What the student now can do is they can open that assignment and they can practice reading that aloud. So they can practice reading it aloud. They can go over it as many times as they want using the microphone. They get access to the support tools like the text-to-speech and all of those tools. But when they're finished and they're happy with their work, they can press return. That'll automatically come back to you as a teacher. So that's a really useful tool to be able to encourage students to read aloud, but also it lets you assess that reading and provide them with some wonderful feedback. And because of that, and it's linked in the Google Classroom, you can track that progress through Google Classroom as well. But also there's another thing that it can do. Because I have the extension installed, let's say you find this particular piece. It was a really useful piece and you would really like your students to read this aloud. You can go and you can actually use the extension in this case rather than a web app, and you can hit the button. And you know what it does? It takes all of the words and text and the core images off that web page and it turns it into a reading passage. It gives students the support that they need, and it allows you just to go through, hit the classroom button just at the bottom here and share that out as a reading assignment. So your students can have access to that too, because they can then take any passage that they're interested in and they can use the extension right up here. They can hit that extension button and that will turn that web page or that Google Doc or any of the reading material that they happen to be on into a reading passage. Then they can record that reading passage and send it right back to you for a quick bit of feedback or review. So when it comes to practice reading aloud, you want to be talking to us on Friday night and listening to all things Fluency Tutor. I'll show you how you can do this in multiple languages. I'll show you how you can do it from Google Docs. I'll show you how you can encourage pupils to use it independently. I'll show you how you can assess the work and provide them with really excellent feedback, all through this web address, fluency.texthelp.com. You won't even need to install an extension for that one. The extension is only to turn web pages and docs into our pieces. So I'm going to go, so only 2 more to go in this double quick. I promised you a double quick tour, and this is very much it. It's very useful being an Irishman in this instance because Irish people, I should say, talk incredibly fast. It's very useful for this one. EquatIO is what we're starting off with tomorrow night, and I'm very, very excited about this because EquatIO, a little figure you may not know, but there's almost 2.5 million pieces of maths around the globe, or math, depending on where you're from, is inserted into documents and Google Documents on a monthly basis with EquatIO. So we know students are loving it, teachers are loving it, and they're using it to allow them to get rid of good old EquatIO editor, whether it's in Google Docs or you're still using Word from time to time, to get rid of that and use EquatIO to share. So this is another extension we're going to go through. So I can open the extension and I'll get this toolbar just at the bottom of my screen right here. So what does it let you do? We'll show you in depth. But for example, let's say we're doing a right angle triangle. We can start typing Pythagorean theorem and it'll start to give me Pythagorean theorem here. So whenever I want to type, so there's prediction. So whenever I want to type, I can type SQ for squared and it's going to get me the correct notation and it's going to insert it into the document. So as I'm starting to work out this particular question that I've got around this right angle triangle, I can do multiple lines of maths and I can get some helpful tips with the prediction engine because it's going to allow me to spell out the words in traditional English in the way I would say it, and it's going to put the notation in. And all I would have to do would be to press insert maths and that'll go right into my Google document. So you'll see there that maths, it's accessible, so our students can play that back aloud, they can listen to it, they can get access to the natural language behind that as well, but they can get access to this and full accessibility. Speaking of which, the other thing they could do is they could also just express it with handwriting recognition. So imagine you're on a touchscreen Chromebook. You can expand this window out, and this is me using a mouse just for speed tonight. But as I start to write here, you'll see that it now starts to take the digital maths and it puts it in the right-hand side window, okay? So as I write here, it'll interpret my handwriting, bad and all that it was, and it'll turn it into digital maths, which I can now put into a doc or to a slide or to a Jamboard or to a form. So I'll get handwriting. I also get the ability to just dictate. So like we're all used to our dictation button in Chrome, I can use dictation in here as well. So I can just speak my math, and as I speak it, it's now going to transcribe it into maths, and it's going to ignore ums and ers and ams and buts and all of those things as well. So this gives my students lots of ways to put maths into documents, which means it's a whole lot easier to put math in there now than it ever was before with equation editors. And what's more, it makes it accessible. But there's more to this as well. I can add diagrams with something like EquatIO. So for example, if I go here and let's say the right angle triangle, I just want to add that in either as a teacher for my student or as a student drawing out the right angle triangle so I can label it up. All I need to do in Google Chrome, in a doc, in Jamboard, in slides, wherever I'm working, I can press the math space button. So this takes me to, it's like a blank canvas. But right here, I have access to all the things you saw, but also all these shape tools. So if I want to go and insert my right angle triangle, I can do this really easily. And I need to mark this as a right angle, so I'll just draw my right angle here. If I wanted to take the thing that I had before, which was just the editor window up, I could start to label this. If I wanted to get super fancy and start to talk about angles at this point in time and get them to measure theta, I could insert that directly in. I could drop it right the way in. So it's just like a drag and drop. But what this is very useful for is to be able to press this button up the top right, which is insert. So it now takes the diagram that I've produced, all labeled up, and it puts it in as a high-res image. So I can illustrate anything maths related that I want here, and I can drop it directly into a doc or a slide, and I'll show you in a second, just into a form. But what I could also do, if I'm teaching younger years as an example, I could use the same button, and I could say, actually, what I want here is, let's go with coins. So what I actually need now, there's 258 different resources here. So I've now got access to manipulatives here as well. So if I wanted coins that I can get my students to interact with, or for example, if I wanted to put in, say, a fraction bar, because I'm doing fractions, I can change the parameters of that. And again, press the insert button, and that'll go right the way in to my document. So that's me putting it into a document. And again, I'll show you in a sec that we can put this into a Jamboard. I've also got graphs, and this is the last one I'll show you before we jump into our Google Forms. But I can use graphs here as well. So I've still got my graph button. Haven't even touched that yet. So I can go here. We'll do something really, really simple for tonight. And we'll just put a simple coordinate in here, because maybe the question is just, what is this coordinate? I want to change that because maybe I want to say, what coordinate does X represent? I could, for example, change things here. Like I could change the X and the Y scale. So I'll just change this so they're all starting from 0. And now all I need to do is press insert graph. And so the graph's going to go straight into the document. So look, there's loads and loads of tips and tricks here. I can take all those tools and I can show them right away here in a form, because when you've got EquatIO installed, you'll see the blue button. So I'm going to show you one of these things. Sorry, 2 of these things I'm going to show you. If I press the blue button, I could type in, say, a third. I could type 1/3 or 1/3, whatever works for me. I could insert maths. So that's okay if it's a multiple choice. I could go down here and do the tool I showed you earlier, which was the math space tool. And again, we're just trying to give you a whistle stop tour, and we'll go through these in depth as we're on each of the sessions. and I want to put in my fraction bar. Let's go with just the 5/8 again, really easy. I'll press the insert button. So now my Google form can start to have correct notation for maths, advanced maths, simplistic maths. You can have manipulatives. It can have these shape tools, these smart shapes as we call them. I could have put my right angle triangle in here, but there's one that lots of people really love about, which we'll go through in depth. But let's say I've got a PDF and I got this question, and what I want to do is I want to put this question into a Google form. What you'll be able to see us do is open up EquatIO and take one of the tools in EquatIO and just draw around this inaccessible PDF. This is of no use to me in a PDF format because I really want my pupils to and my students to submit this within a Google form. So I can go back to my Google form, and all I've done is copied what EquatIO has given me, and I can press this button here, and all I need to do is press my paste shortcut, and that piece of math that was in a PDF is now taken and is now in here in an accessible format in a Google form, which means when you start to show this form to your students, you'll start to see it's more accessible, it's richer, it can be full of graphs and images and diagrams and anything you might need for maths. And remember, we can also do this we'll see how we'll do this in Jamboard. Again, not much time tonight, but if, for example, we want to put a quick shape in here, we can go over to math space again. So this is going to look a little bit repetitive, but that's the point in EquatIO. Once you've learned the toolbar and you've learned how to use the extension, you can insert it and use this same toolbar and these same features in something like Jamboard or in your forms or in your docs or in your sheets. So I can do maths here. Okay, I can do images, I can do graphs, anything I want to do, I can do directly here. I'll also show you when we're in EquatIO tomorrow night how you can do this all in PDF. So you know that PDF worksheet, and you've assigned it out in Google Classroom. You need to see how students can get access to put math or maths in there. We can use the EquatIO toolbar for that as well. So there's loads of ways we can use it. EquatIO is so useful, and there's things we won't even have time to go through tonight. So for example, I have also things like EquatIO Math Space, which allows me to create an assignment, to be able to share that assignment through Google Classroom, to be able to have a workflow where my students are going to fill in, complete the math, complete the problems, complete a worksheet, press a button to send it back to me, and I'm going to have my very own grading window in there as well. So there's so much to go through tomorrow night. I'm so excited to share it with you. So last and definitely not least is a new one that you may not have seen, and this is WriQ. I talked about it at the start. We have a fabulous session for you on this on Wednesday. So really looking forward to that, because this is something a little bit different that you may not be aware of. But what WriQ actually does is two things. It'll help motivate students to write because it'll give them nudges that will push us as they go through a thing called the WriQ meter. It'll tell them when they're doing well and encourage them to keep going. So we'll show you exactly how that's going to help students. Also, it'll show them how they can get access to pretty cool feedback. So they get access on like their productivity. They'll get access on their bursts, how fluently they're actually writing. They'll see where they're writing as well, and they get access to word clouds, all this from a Google Doc. They also get access to detailed feedback. But where they get that feedback from is the teacher view, which we'll spend a little bit of time going through. The teacher view in this extension will open up a Google Doc, either here or directly within Classroom. It'll spend just a few seconds analyzing that document. And what it'll do is it'll give me back statistics on this. So it will measure the word count. It will measure the vocabulary age of this piece. It will say how long the student stayed on task. Now, 12 minutes, it took a little bit longer than 12 minutes. That's because I copied and pasted it loads. And it'll tell me the accuracy. So automatically it's done spelling and punctuation and grammar. That term there is a UK term, spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So that'll automatically do that. But then it lets me pick up a rubric. So for example, here, I can go to a rubric and I can say on the focus, that was below grade level. On the organization and plot, that was grade level. So I can go through each of these pieces of the rubric. It comes with some of them. We can add our own. We'll see how we can do that. And as I press continue, I can insert some manual feedback to my pupil at this stage. So I'll just say, great work for the purpose of this. I'll deliberately have a typo there as I type. That always happens. I can decide what I'm going to include here. So I'll include everything. And I can just hit save. And now you'll see here in a second, either the student has received it back. So right in their Google Doc, they'll be able to get this feedback, or right here, it'll take a little snapshot of all of that wonderful feedback that you've sent, and it will pop it in as a little header image into the start of the document. So when this document is returned to your student, they know exactly how they're doing within the confines of the rubric. Excuse me, and most importantly, they'll know how to do slightly better. So we'll show you all that in WriQ, and that's on Wednesday night. One of my colleagues, Gustavo, is going to be helping me out with that one, along with some of the community. So look, that is a little bit longer than we planned here, but that is genuinely the quickest tour that I can give you of each of the Texthelp tools. I'm going to remind you, just as we finish up here, that you can get both Read&Write and EquatIO totally free as a teacher. The link is there, text.help/FFT. Don't be afraid to sign up for that and get access to that. If your district or school doesn't already have either of those two tools, you can have either or both. And again, just a reminder to the innovators and the certified trainers on the session tonight, that at the end of this week's session, you should expect an email out just to give you some really good news as to how you can access some more help directly from Texthelp. So we'll get that out to you really soon. I'm going to mention, just if it's okay, Katie, just to mention two last sections of resources. One of them, I try to keep our resources really informal. And one of the things I really love using is our friends at Wakelet. And so what we have for all of the things that we're going to go through this week, there's a collection of Wakelets. The one on the right-hand side there is for you guys. So it's for teachers, text.help/RL teachers. It's just a collection of YouTube videos, quick reference guides. You'll find our FFT link in there for free for teachers. But we've also built one for students. So students, when you need to onboard them, when you need to give them that little bit of extra help and a student voice, we've got loads of videos on there that they can access on YouTube. And importantly, through the last year that we've all been through, we got one for parents there too. So what's this Read&Write extension thing that I'm being asked to download? How is it going to help my child? We'll help with that. And the other thing, which is my personal favorite, I've really taken to ThingLink. It has to be said, if you're not using it, please go out and try it. It's a wonderful interactive tool. But what we've created there is each of those tools that we went through, there's an interactive tour. So what you can do is, if you visit the link, and I think I've added it to the chat there. So in there, I have created a link to our toolkit for Google Chrome. And within that, you can explore each of those toolbars. You can have a look at each of the buttons. You can figure out what they do, how they do it. It'll read that out loud to you. It'll give you some quick GIFs, access to videos. It's a great way just to experience the full interface of all of those things that we've saw. So whether you can see that before the session or as a takeaway afterwards, please do have a visit to that. Bit of a long link there. But if you can note that one down and bookmark it, that would be great, and you get access to all of those. So, Katie, I am sorry. You knew I would run over. I know we had a little bit of extra time, a little bit more than 25 minutes. Stephanie is going to shout at me. I know if she's already on here, but hopefully that gives us a flavor of the excitement of the week ahead.
Exactly. So, yeah, thanks for that. There's two questions that I saw pop up in the chat, so I'll just fire them out quickly. We had the are they add-ons? Are they add-ons? I think
no. So each of those are all extensions. So every one of those is a Google extension, apart from Fluency Tutor. Fluency Tutor, you can just visit on the web at fluency.texthelp.com. There is, don't be confused, there is a Fluency Tutor extension, but that's just for taking web pages or Google Docs and making them into a practice piece of reading material. So all of those you can find in the Chrome store. So if you go to the Chrome store and look for Texthelp, you'll be able to find all of those, and it'll guide you to the extension installs.
Yeah, and then as you said, I was one of those admin on that just pushed it out to everyone and was like, here you go. But we've learned a few things at my school now. And the other one is, can this be used for chemistry?
Absolutely. And we're going to be covering a little bit of chemistry tomorrow night. I'm not sure if Jan is quite ready for the chemistry we're going to cover tomorrow night, but we're absolutely going to be doing that. The prediction that I showed you, I was only showing you the basics tonight. Obviously, things like squared and square root, very basic level. But the prediction is built in for nearly 200 chemical formula. We've got a molecular viewer built in. We've got the periodic table of elements. So we can literally do full-on high-level chemistry. We have university-level students use this for chemistry degrees, as well as middle school and junior school, high school, and in Ireland, Katie, primary and secondary schools, of course, as well, use that for chemistry. So yeah, brilliant chemistry to build in. You'll love it.
Yeah, I think that's it on the question front, because obviously I know people may be saving their questions for when you look at them more in depth in the coming days. So yeah, it really is a useful and powerful tool. I know Read and Write has been useful for us at our school. As I said, I just pushed it out, but especially the text to speech has really helped us out for those children. I'm a primary school teacher, so yeah, children that struggle with reading large amounts of text, that has been handy in there.
I think one of the things there, Katie, as well, that I think people forget about both Read and Write and EquatIO is we have this fancy word, we call it discoverability, and lots of people use that word. But really, all I tell primary school kids all the way through, all the ages we work with, is look for the purple puzzle piece. And if it's there, just hit it, because it will pop down. If it's in a web page or it's in a Google Doc and you can use Read and Write, just hit it and take access to the tools. And the same is true now in EquatIO. It'll find the maths on your page. It'll discover it and it'll go, oh, you really want to be using EquatIO right now. And it'll give them a little bit of a nudge. So I think that creates that little bit of independence in the tools as well, which is great.
Yeah, no, they love it. And yeah, I call it the purple puzzle piece. So look for the purple puzzle piece. Yeah. So there really is so much within the whole toolkit, and as you keep saying, lots of hidden gems. So everyone needs to make sure that they tune in for the rest of the series. It's EquatIO tomorrow. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, there's so much in EquatIO.
So what have we got here, Katie? We got EquatIO on Tuesday, so that's tomorrow. We got WriQ on Wednesday for writing. We've got PDF Reader on Thursday, Fluency Tutor on Friday. And the big one with Stephanie on Monday, Read and Write, of course, one everybody wants. But yeah, I would say, Katie, we'll have a few EquatIO super fans appear tomorrow night, because that's one of those tools that people just go, how did I survive before this tool? When you're teaching math or maths, it's a fabulous tool.
Exactly. And then I'll be back on Wednesday for WriQ as well. I'm interested in that one. That one looked awesome. So yeah, everyone that's watching, click subscribe. Remember to subscribe that way, isn't it? Set those reminders. Make sure you don't miss them. And thank you for tuning in. And thanks again to you, Paddy.
Thank you very much, Katie. Expert hosting as always. Thank you.